So hello guys, today we will have a short talk on the .NET Blazor components and look at them in depth. So the components is a great way to achieve the better functionality complexity and in terms of performance, but sometimes it could lead to potential overhead just in terms of the compiler. So for example, here we have the default component for setting the some head tags, but we will try to look under the hood of it and to refactor this functionality to be more straightforward and to be quite faster in some cases. So for example, the components are great. For example, here like we are using the mod Blazor package, and it provides us with a lot of different components that are extending our functionality in a great way. So this is, let me show this mod Blazor. So we have the documentation, for example, and let it load one moment. So and we have a bunch of components that can be used for the different purposes like charts, like cards and so on, but the components could be quite redundant in some cases because this is just a facade. And if we look at the mentioned head component, which is type of head outlet, but look at it in a practical way, so from the page which is using it. So for example, here we have the head component, which extends the basic page title component with some additional content. So because we have to, in the application, we have to set not just the title, but we have to set also the meta property of the OG title, description, and so on, just for this page to be correctly displayed in some messengers like Telegram or Instagram and so on. And this is the functionality which we are adding. And here we have some extension method for concatenation of the title and header. But if you look at the intermediate language, we will see quite a different structure. So let's navigate here and let's see what it does exactly. So this one is inherited just from the component base. It has its properties, and here we have the mechanism of the, somehow has set the breakpoint. Okay, so and here we have the mechanism of the rendering. So what we are doing here, we are opening the component of the page title. Here next we are adding the attribute, so like child content, and we are populating this all child content, not this one but this one, child content. And if we look at this one head content, we see that we are opening each element and we are adding the property and the attribute. Then we are closing the element and we are doing it just this way. So under the hood, each component uses this render tree, so the mechanism of the component rendering. And if we go here and let's look what exactly does this component, it just opens the section content, and to the section content it just adds the title with the child content provided. Okay, and what is section content? Section content is the, let me navigate here. Yeah, so this scene does exactly the same. So it opens the element and it appends some content, but let's look at our task a bit more in an abstract way. So we have the kind of layout like this. So we have the head, we have the body, and we need just to open the existing head tag and to add some elements like title or some meta properties and elements. So how we are going to achieve that? We can just use the functionality like in this head component. So the functionality is just in terms of these generated statements. Yeah, let me scroll a bit. Text. Yeah, just the statements just like this. So using the render tree builder, and we can easily achieve the just exact same result, but without this code overhead. So how we are going to do that? So let me yeah, so we have the first approach, which I have already tested, and let's look at this kind of thing. So first of all, the render fragment is just a delegate. So a delegate which takes our render tree builder and provides some content to be rendered. So it's just a delegate. It's not the method returning some kind of value. So, and if we look at the methods of this builder, so we can write dot and locate all the methods what we have. So first of all, we have the open methods. Open, it means that we are opening some existing element. So, and it can be either component, element, or region. So region is not so widely used, but we have these two ones. So open element means that we are opening some existing markup element. So it can be something like head, body, and so on. So by specifying the sequence, which is auto-incremented int number of the render call, and we are specifying the element name. So just the name property. And here we can also open the component which is present in the markup and do some modifications in terms of the component which was previously placed in our markup code. And the next methods are the add. So what we can add exactly? So first of all, we can add some content. But the content should be of type either the markup string or it can be the plain string and so on. So it can be also widely used, but we have one more overload for that. Next, in terms of component, each component has the attributes. So it can be either one attribute or it can be some multiple attributes. And we have both the add attribute and add multiple attributes. So like add attribute will look like this one. So we will add something like 1 or the exact sequence number, and we should provide both the attribute name, select title, and provide the title. So it's just to add one attribute, but there is more convenient way with the adding multiple attributes at once. So for example, here we are opening the component, so the head component which is present on the page, and we are assigning the sequence number of 0. Next, we are going to add multiple attributes to this component, and we are going to populate this component with the attributes of header and the string parameter header, next title, and text. So it will be just the key value structure, and it can be used just instead of this plain component. And next we are gonna to close the that component. So close, we can either clear the builder and we can close the element previously opened. So it can be either component, element, and region, just according to the opener element. And here we have the functionality like we are opening the component, so we are placing this component using the render fragment on this page. We are adding several attributes and we are closing this component. So, and the component just renders with the attributes provided. So for example, it can be like this one. So it's just a method call. So because we have the global, this class is static one, and we have included this class to the global static using. So we can just specify the method name in the layout page. So that's quite convenient. And we are providing it with arguments. And under the hood, it's represented just by the add content directive. So we are adding content with the result of this method. So which under the hood returns us with the head component and with the parameters provided. But let's look once more at the task. So we have just here the markup content with some dynamic parameters which should be set per page. So for example, we have like one page, it has one set of parameters. Next we have the second page with another set of parameters, and we have just to add some elements to the existing head element in the markup. So, and what is a more straightforward way than doing a component invocation? It's just to add this content directly. So yeah, so something like this one. So in this method, what we are exactly doing? So first of all, we are getting this title, which was here, but we are getting it on the start of the method because this title should be assigned both to the title and to the OG title, which is used for some messengers to display the proper content, and no need to call this thing twice. So that's why we have the variable. Next, we are opening the element with the initial number of the sequence, so it's just 0, and we are opening the element of the head which is present in our layout. So when we have opened this head element, we can just specify the method of the add markup content, which means that we are adding one string, or it can be the multi-line string and so on, but this string should represent the markup content. So it means it should not be just the plain text, it should be the string containing some tags, properties and so on. So it's the markup. We are incrementing the number of our sequence to 1, and this is written with such concatenation just for readability. We are supplying the several tags which we are gonna to add to the existing page. So we are gonna to add the title, we are gonna to add the OG title, description, and OG description. So, and all of these tags will be supplied with the actual values. So, and when we have finished adding the markup content to the existing head element, we can easily close this component. So just close and return to the rendering cycle of the page. So, and this one could be used just as here. So we're using this method, we are providing the parameters, and this scene is just rendered within the add content and the result of this method. Okay, and let's see whether this head will be added correctly. So that's why we will comment this out. So because we do not need this component when we will use the new method, and let's locate this page in our browser. So let's launch project. Okay, and let's locate this page and let's see that our title has been successfully populated. And for example, if we go to the other page, something like where we do not have this scene implemented, so we see that there is no title provided here. So if we return here, we see that the title has been successfully updated just with this method. So, and this approach is more straightforward than making the one component on the top of other component and using it that way. So of course reuse of the component is sometimes can be a good practice, but not in the case of the simple tasks, which could be done potentially simple, but with a huge code overhead, so like in this task. So hopefully this mechanic will not change in the .NET 8, which is gonna to be released soon. And for today that's it. So probably this introduction should help you to get on with the components rendering and the mechanic of this stuff in the Blazor server, which is quite different from the MVC approach, but it looks in some cases it looks quite similar to the legacy web forms, which were using almost this mechanic in some cases, and this is quite a similar approach, which has been used, for example, in .NET Framework 4 and in the .NET 7. So that's it. Thanks for watching. If you have any ideas or comments, you are free to message me, and I would be glad to discuss.